There's one light on the road, take you straight to never let it go, let it go.
Hey guys, it's Culinary Ninja, and today we're going to be making a challah bread. Challah is about like one of my favorite breads. It's just like has a mahogany color. It's really good for French toast, especially when it's left over. It's a Jewish bread. To start off, we're just going to work with the first rise and like having it come away from the bowl and kneading. So if you've seen my focaccia video, you know what that looks like. Kneading on salad. Bad with keywords, you know that. Kind of complicated because it's just a lot of work with eggs, because the thing that gives the challah its color is the egg wash. I make about 2 loaves, and yeah, I've never made challah before, and I'm gonna get started. So begin by making your challah by blooming your yeast by pouring water and yeast together and stirring it up really well. You can let this wait for 5 minutes, but it doesn't need to happen. Then add in your eggs, egg yolks, vegetable oil, sugar, and your 4 cups of bread flour and your 2 teaspoons of salt. The other half cup of flour is actually used to roll it out, so you need to save that and put it aside. Next, stir until this dough comes away from the sides of the bowl. And that sounds weird when you first hear it and you've never made bread before, but basically what happens is your bread dough will literally come away from the sides of the bowl. It'll stop sticking essentially. Once it stops sticking, you need to put it out onto the counter, onto a lightly floured surface. You want to work about 1/4 of a cup of your half cup of excess flour, which was from the 4 1/2. That's the half cup. You want to start working at least 1/4 of a cup of it in at a time. You won't really use all of it at once. You'll just kind of know when it feels like it's getting tough. You'll just put in some flour, and you don't want to like put it in the center like I did. You want to put it at the bottom and just keep kneading. Now if you're worried about like what the kneading motion is, it's really easy honestly. It just kind of takes a lot of muscle to knead bread, especially challah, because it's such a firm dough, even though it gets super silky once you finish kneading. But kneading is really important because not only does it make dough come together, but it develops the gluten in the bread. But if you do this for too long like I did, it won't be able to proof for the first rise. So when you're kneading, you want to actually make it so like it's a flat disc. It's a lot easier when you do this, and you push down like to the left, and then you take what you put to the left and you push it towards the right, and you take what you right and push it towards yourself, and then keep doing that over and over. So then you have like 4 little areas that you keep pushing and pushing and pushing until it comes together. And once it's smooth and kind of like elastic when you're holding it, the gluten will be developed, and this will be about 10 to 15 minutes. And I know that I did this wrong because I did it for 20 minutes, but I was still like wondering why aren't you coming together and stuff like that. But a good test to do is when you push down with your finger, the dough should feel firm and push back. Now you can see that I have transferred the dough into the same bowl that I actually mixed it in. I just cleaned it so that I wouldn't have any scraps. And you want to use the oil that I said to use earlier, not the vegetable oil, but the other one that I said could be olive, canola, or vegetable. And both of them can be that, but it's basically just excess oil that you need. And you just put it in the bowl and kind of like make it come down around all the sides, and then push the bread into the oil and make sure it gets all around. And yes, it'll make squeaky, gross sounds, and it'll sound weird, and it'll look weird, and it'll be dripping all over yourself. So that's why it's important to have a rag nearby. And of course I didn't have that rag. But basically what you want to do is you want to turn it completely in the oil and then allow it to rise for at least an hour. But for me, it wasn't enough, and I baked it anyway, and it still tasted fine, but I feel like it should have been bigger. So when you do it, it's really just by eye, but not only is it by eye, but it should triple in volume, which will be what you see, but what you feel is honestly more important. When the center of the dough, when you press it with your finger, when you press down on the center of the dough with your finger, and the dough doesn't come back up or squeeze together, that's when you know it's ready. And it's a really cool way to know, and I think that's just really helpful. However long it took you for your dough to triple in volume, or at least for the whole technique to work, I kind of just gave up on it. I actually let it rise for 2 hours and nothing happened at all. So when it made the test, I was just kind of angry. So no, that's actually not why I'm punching it. I'm punching it because you actually are supposed to punch the dough, but yeah, don't punch it that hard. It's bad. Anyway, once your dough is bigger and it passes the test at least, it's better if it rises though, honestly. Cut your dough in half and put it in 2 separate bowls and let it rise for 15 minutes.
You just need to come back home.
Now punch down your dough again, and with your palms roll out into 2 ropes. And cut each of these ropes into 6 equal pieces and braid them together using the 6th section pan braiding process. And yes, I will talk about that more. It's honestly easy once you start doing it, but when you look at it and listen to it and see it, it sounds really complicated, but when you actually have it in front of you, it's really easy. Now that each of your halves of the bread, which would be the 2 loaves obviously, you have those out and you make them into long ropes that are about 12 inches long. Then cut 6 indents first and then cut through them that are about the same length of each loaf. So like each loaf will have 6 strands and that you'll separate and it'll look like 6 little legs. Now crease these 6 strands together to form the 6 legs. Once your 6 legs have been formed, this will be the really confusing part, so get ready. And this will be facing you, not facing me, so make sure you get that. So basically what happens is you take so all of these are legs, so you need to refer to it like that. So take the one facing you to the farthest right and pull it up so that it's crossing all of them and going up to the left side, and it's up. So now you have 4 legs, and do it the same with the farthest left leg. So now you have 2 arms. So the arms are basically the ones that are above, legs are the ones below, if that's easier for you to think about it. So basically, once your arms have been formed, you'll have a 4-legged creature with a cross of 2 strands coming up that are the arms. Now that you have this, you keep the legs spread apart in pairs, make sure they don't come together, and take the left arm, which will be facing you, and bring it down into the center between the legs. And what I mean by that is you actually need to go under the legs that are in the middle, so like that, to make a little, kind of like a circle-ish knot thing. And then, once you do that, bring the outer right leg that's also facing you and up to form a new top left arm, and the top right arm comes down between the legs. Once you repeat this pattern enough, and I'll just go over it one more time, left outer leg comes up to form new right arm, left arm comes down to center, right leg comes up to form left arm, and right arm comes down to the center. Once you do this, and you continue by alternating, keep doing this, and you'll eventually have like a knotted bread thing. And if you can't do it for the whole time because it is time consuming and annoying and stressful and all that stuff, I actually just did it for most of the bread, and once I came to the end I kind of just did it really fast in hopes that it came together. And it still looked really nice, but it wasn't exactly what I was going for. But basically, make sure always that you keep hold of the last strand you move, so then you know your location pattern, and if you get confused, just unbraid it and do it again. Okay, thumbs up if you made it this far. Now, if you can't do that version, I do have another version that I can shortly tell you about. It's really easy. So I just made one that was sort of knotted, and the other one was just basically little balls. For right now, you need to use your egg wash. So your egg wash, remember, is way towards the beginning of this video, which is a teaspoon of water and 1 egg that you basically just beat together. So you can use a pastry brush or really anything that you can use to just paint it on there. Try not to get it through the crevices if you ended up doing a knotted version, because there actually are I think there's one other knotted version called Challah, which is basically the same thing but you use 3 strands, but it's still pretty difficult, honestly. But that one's more of a braiding, this one's more of a twisting, you know? So basically, just brush it with the egg wash and let it air dry for a little while, and then do it again. Then you have a double layer of mahogany just to ensure, because actually, if you don't double layer with your egg wash, you won't have the mahogany color. And that actually was something new that I learned while I did this, along with tons of other stuff. So when you're making the round one, do the same thing, except when you make the log, which is just the other half of dough, cut it into 6 equal pieces and start by just using slits to mark every 2 inches, and then you can just cut through those slits, and then you'll have 6 little rectangle square things. Yeah, I hate geometry. Anyway, after that, you can roll those into balls and just put them inside the same type of bread pan loaf. And make sure you use this. You can line it with cornmeal or with flour, but I use parchment because it's way easier. Sometimes you generally want to bake these kind of breads in on a sheet pan, but I used a bread loaf pan, and it was totally fine. So you should do that. And basically just roll these until they're balls and just kind of stuff them in there. And if one of them doesn't fit in the bottom layer, because you kind of just want it to be one layer, just put it on top in the middle and it'll make a little puff ball. It's actually really cool looking, so do that.